So, on behalf of Labor for Palestine, I want to thank the candidates for being here and everyone. And this is May Day, International Workers' Day. And so we want to extend our solidarity to all the working people here and around the world. This forum has been called to talk to candidates who have taken positions in solidarity with Palestine and in opposition to the Gaza genocide. And the purpose of Labor for Palestine is to mobilize and organize workers in the labor movement and also those who don't have unions who want to fight to defend Palestinians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can give that a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. This is such a wonderful turnout, and thank you so much to these candidates for being here and for these strong positions you've taken on this issue. And so we just wanted to go around and just, maybe in 2 minutes, just introduce yourself, introduce what you're running for, what you're running on, and your position on Palestine, if you've made a public statement about that, and just talk a little bit about that if you can too. You can start with Aida here.
First of all, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm trying.
First of all, thank you so. I'm just gonna yell. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I was just talking about this issue in terms of the fact that standing up for this issue oftentimes is penalized rather than rewarded, and having integrity and values is often penalized, especially in this country, rather than being rewarded. And being in a city that in a state where Palestine has now been censored in schools by unanimously throughout the entire state, every single elected official. The fact that BDS has been penalized by every single elected official, except one guy who was retiring. And the fact that we have people running for mayor who have also voted in support of something like this, and our own city council members trying to penalize protest in order to basically censor pro-Palestine protesters, and multiple people conflating criticism of the acts of the genocidal country with anti-Semitism, to the point where I was running on a campaign of, pro-biking, pro-transit, pro-housing, all that good stuff. And when the war on Iran started, I'm an Iranian American. I'm sorry, I'm Aida Ashouri. I'm running for LA City. I was born in Iran, and I have to say I'm the only person that was born in West Asia on this panel. I have to give credit to that. I was the only one that was born during a war, and my first memories are hiding from bombs, which is a traumatic thing that no child should have to go through. And when this war happened, thank you, Teddy. Is that 30 seconds? Or
30 seconds.
Okay. When the war happened, I was compelled to say something. As an anti-war activist since I was born, as a human rights activist for more than 25 years, organizing my first walkout at the age of 17, protesting and rallying against the Iraq War, against the genocide. And when that happened, one of the first things that I incurred was somebody asked for a refund for one of their donations and called me anti-Semitic. And so there's a real result and a silencing of people who are trying to stand up. But for me, it's not a question of, but this is my survival. This is about doing what's right. And so I'm against the genocide of Palestine. I'm against censoring Palestine. I'm against the apartheid. And I've actually drafted a ceasefire resolution and got it passed on my neighborhood council saying all that. So you got it in writing.
Oh, yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Lalo Vargas. I'm running to be the next insurance commissioner of California. I'm running with the Peace and Freedom Freedom Party, Peace and Freedom Party, we've always stood for the total liberation of the Palestinian people from the river to the sea. Palestinian sovereignty and self-determination is of utmost importance, and it is connected to the battles that we have, to the struggles that we have here in the United States. I'm an environmental science teacher, public high school teacher in Northeast LA. And a member of my union, UTLA, we just avoided a strike because we organized and we did not back down, and we brought the school district to its knees, and we got money in people's pockets. We got resources for our students, for our families. And I'm also a socialist. And why is a socialist running for office in a time like this when ICE is terrorizing our communities? But it's actually the perfect time. And that's because, I mean, I already mentioned, we've been talking a little bit about, these major conflicts that our nation is waging in our name, but without our consent. That's one major crisis that we're facing. We're facing the crisis of climate change. Every year is the hottest year on record, and then that leads to more and more destruction in the state. And then the advent of AI as a technology in the hands of the capitalist class, it results in more and more layoffs, mass layoffs. These three things happening at the same time are major crises that the capitalist system isn't going to be able to resolve.
That's right.
And so we have to create a path for an alternative to that system, and that path is socialism. So, yeah, we path for socialism. And we can, we got to propose what is it that, what would certain institutions look like under socialism? And one of those is insurance. Insurance is supposed to be a safety net for people, but if you look at what happened in the aftermath of the LA fires, the people are still displaced from their homes. The insurance companies are basically parasites. We already deal with them for our healthcare. They're no better for other types, and it's another way that they're basically chipping away at the affordability in this state. So we have to stand up to the insurance companies, hold the executives accountable, lock them up, and lock up every war criminal that
I'm so grateful for all of you showing up and the energy in this room. I want to be transparent. Today, just on our way here, we learned about a really beloved community member passing away just 2 hours ago. And so I'm here, even though I'm not here, but showing up, unlike our current many representatives right now. But I'm here because many people can't be, and I'm Angela Gonzalez-Torres, and I am running for Congress here in Man, it stays like this. I did not know I was going to be crying all day. So if I look like shit, it's because I feel like shit, and if you noticed, thank you for noticing it. But I'm really grateful to be here because I am the daughter of Petit Porti. I'm born and raised by a single mom who became a single mom of 4 girls overnight, and she's in this room too. She's been talking about Palestine for a long time. And I am grateful to be on this panel because Lalo and I have actually known each other for a long time as community members, and he inspired me to vote socialist and be proud to say I vote socialist. And Aida and I worked alongside each other as neighborhood council leaders to try to get a ceasefire letter passed in City Hall. And while that might have failed, look at us now, we're here. And I'm really grateful because I feel moved by grief. I feel like I'm mourning this one person so much, and I can't imagine the amount of loss and suffering our U.S. government has caused in Gaza and Lebanon and Iran, and the list goes on. And so I'm here because unseating AIPAC Jimmy Gomez, one of AIPAC's top 5 recipients of campaign contributions, is my contribution. And we have a really good chance at winning. And so I'm the anti-war, pro-peace candidate running in California's 34th Congressional District, and I'm excited to share more today.
You already got my vote.
I'm carrying your grief with me today, Angela. Yeah. My name is Rae Huang. I am running to be the first socialist mayor of Los Angeles. I think I'm carrying your grief today because as I'm sitting in this room, I'm realizing that many of us are here because we're all holding a lot of grief. We're holding grief of those who have passed before us, the saints who have carried the way to really drive the movement for us here in LA. I'm sorry. And I know, and I mean, I'm with you though, you know, like we are here because we're also grieving for all of our saints who are around the world who are doing the same thing for us right now. The reason that I've been standing so closely with Palestinian liberation, by the way, I grabbed my scarf because I got this scarf in the West Bank when I was there about 2 decades ago. Well before we were really having this conversation seriously. I remember in college I couldn't understand what the Middle East conflict was about, and so I just read book after book after book, and then finally I said to myself, well, I've read enough, now I just need to go there, and so then I did. And I stayed there with a family, a Palestinian family. I helped plant olive trees for a Palestinian farmer whose trees had all gotten dug up by colonizers. And then I saw the settler colonies, and my heart was broken, and I saw the rubble of one of their major cities just completely on the ground, right? And I heard the stories of the children who spoke multiple languages who were being taught by UN officials because that were the only teachers who were available for them. Like, the thing is, I know we're here in Los Angeles, and I know that I'm running to be the mayor of a city that is far away from many of these countries we're talking about, but it's not far away. Because these are our families, right? And even though I know that I'm, you know, living here in the US and I grew up here in the US and I'm a citizen of this country, at the same time, I do see myself as a global citizen. I am interconnected with everything that happens in this world. And we know how related we are that when one group is put down and oppressed and not given autonomy to decide and determine their own lives, and they're being given the, I was gonna say a bad word, but I feel like I shouldn't, that was handed to them, and you know, this is not the world that we're trying to live in. And so the fight for liberation that we're doing here in LA is the fight for liberation in Palestine, the fight for peace in Iran. We're fighting for all of us together. And I think that all of us, at least on this panel, all feel very much the same way. And so I'm so glad that we're able to dig into this today.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and power. Is this mic okay? Can you guys see me, hear me? So my name is Butch Ware. The first socialist governor of the state of California, the first black governor of the state of California, the first Muslim governor of the state of California, the first revolutionary governor of the state of California. And I am humbled that you would center Palestinian liberation at the beginning of this discourse and this discussion this evening. I went on record in August of 2024 as saying that the right of Palestinian people to resist, including armed resistance, is enshrined in international law, but our moral responsibility is armed resistance, and anyone that does not support the resistance of the Palestinian people does not support Palestinian liberation. I'm not one of them watermelon pro-Palestine people. I'm one of them red triangle pro-Palestine people, if you understand what I'm saying. And the reason for that is that the journey that brought me to this place started when I was 15 years old, when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I read Malcolm's autobiography cover to cover in one night, couldn't put that book down. It healed wounds in me that I didn't know were there, that white supremacy and capitalism and imperialism had inflicted upon me. And I found healing in that document. I went out to my public library, I read an English translation of the Quran the next day, and I converted to Islam before the week was out. And that was the birth of a black Muslim revolutionary in that moment. So I knew where to stand on Palestine because Malcolm said that this is a white Jewish population being empowered by white imperialists to move Arabs off their land. Malcolm understood Zionism as a regional variant of white supremacy, and therefore I understand that black liberation, Chicano liberation, the liberation of the working class, none of it can be accomplished until Palestine is free from the river to the sea.
Okay, thank you everyone for responses. So for our first question, we would like to ask, if you are elected to office, what do you plan to do specifically to oppose the Gaza genocide and U.S. wars around the world, and also the role of the government of this state in supporting those wars, and to build the movement? So the question again was, what do you plan to do with if you win office in order to oppose war and genocide? Same order as when.
I think this is a great question. As city attorney, there's a lot of opportunity and responsibility there. The city attorney prosecutes all the misdemeanors. The city attorney operates procurement, which is approving contracts. The city attorney advises the mayor and city council, the LAGWP, the ports of LA, the airports. It also can bring lawsuits, and it defends lawsuits. So as you can tell, as I'm talking about, I'm sure everybody's thinking about different ideas that this could be incorporated. And there's a myriad of things. And I'll talk about the things that I've actually already spoken upon. Our city is invested in a lot of genocide-linked corporations. It has millions of dollars invested in Caterpillar. It has millions of dollars invested in Lockheed Martin, the company that designed, and I might get emotional too talking about this, but designed the missile. Oh man.
We're here for you, Aida. We got you.
That killed 160 little girls in Iran on the first day of the war. There was an experimental missile that they boasted about on their social media.
Shame.
How disgusting is that? And our city has something like 20 million invested in that company. It has 220 million invested in the Coke industries. So divesting is a key on that, and advising the city that it needs to divest from war and genocide. And how much time do I have? Okay, and the last thing, I want to make sure that Palestinian protesters are not prosecuted. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, and I will stand with protesters and make sure that their rights of protest will be respected. Thank you.
So the role that I'm running for Insurance Commissioner, it's not a legislative role. It's interesting. It's a regulatory role, but at the same time, it's in charge of the nation's largest consumer protection agency, the Department of Insurance, and it has like vast resources. And what I'm proposing is we use those resources to lead public education campaigns, to teach people about what single-payer healthcare is, why we need it, how, things like that. And at the same time, even though I look to the example of the controller here, Kenneth Mejia, how his expansion of what the controller does, it's about educating the public using data, statistics. The insurance commissioner is well suited to do the same type of thing, and because inevitably we're going to hear, how are you going to pay for single-payer healthcare? How are you going to pay for a public insurance option for homeownership or for for catastrophic wildfires? Yep. Well, we're going to say, how are you going to keep paying for these wars?
I know that's
in 1 month of the war against Iran, we could, with what was spent in that war, $36 billion, we could have rebuilt Altadena 3 times over. So these are connected issues, and I think expanding the definition of what the capitalism tries to limit these roles, but if we expand it, I think that would be the best use of the office.
Hell yeah.
And I also love this question. I feel like sometimes reporters ask me in a snarky way, how are you going to achieve world peace? And I'm like, well, let me tell you. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not going to answer for that. But day one, we are signing on to block the bombs. And that's bare minimum, which has not done. And I actually want to throw it back a little bit because you mentioned the Chicano community, and I was born into the Chicano community in East LA that was actually born out of protesting the unfair draft of black and brown individuals in the Vietnam War. And as soon as I could get my passport, I went to Vietnam because I was like, well, LAUSD's not teaching me about it, and let me go and see for myself. And my husband and I was here today. We saved up like, what, $200 to go? And they call it the DC War there. They don't call it the Vietnam War. They know the majority of Americans were against it then, as we are against further endless war now. And so some of our first memories was protesting the Iraq and Afghanistan invasions. And so just jumping into the Palestinian liberation movement made sense to me because I think all of our struggles are connected and therefore our liberation is. And so we are also following the footsteps of Kenneth Mejia, who actually ran for this seat that I'm running for as a Green Party candidate over 10 years ago. We're on to something. We're on to something. And we're proud to have his endorsement in this run up against Jimmy Gomez, who is complicit in taking pro-war money and, again, signing on to block the bombs. We're actually proud to be hosting IMEU, who wrote that, here in LA this month. Gabe, we might want to do it here if you want to hook us up with that. But it's all about educating and inviting people to get as informed and as involved as possible, especially in the participatory budget part. You know, where are we spending our money? And we were just on Rae for LA, and I were just on like a Books Not Bombs little tour at UCLA. Like it's you know, it's something that's been happening for a long time, and I'm proud to sit here today, standing in solidarity though with the Oxy students that are continuing the liberation encampment movement, and we'll just bring that to Congress.
Oh yeah.
Okay, got it. I wasn't sure what was going on. So there are three ways that I will be, as in my particular role in running for mayor, be able to participate in the liberation of our Palestinian brothers and sisters and kin, which is the first. Is that we know right now there's a witch hunt on anybody that is against the typical pro-Israel stance, right? Pro-Zionist perspective. And so we have to end that witch hunt. And we have to be very bold about what it means to be able to end the hate and the discrimination and the oppression, particularly even by traditional media, how we talk about this. So that is one way, is that we need to be very firm in terms of how we talk about anti-hate speech, right? And that includes anti-hate or hate language against those of us who are actually supportive of trying to end the wars and the genocides that are happening around the world. The second is we know, for example, that Karen Bass actually was on UCLA campus herself and directing the LAPD to be able to take down all of the tents of the students who were together on campus, protesting the war and protesting the genocide of Palestinian peoples. And so we need to be able to end that and ensure that people can protest peacefully and protect their rights, and ensure that we are actually have someone in office who is protecting our comrades. And then the third is we do need to be boycotting and canceling all contracts that are supporting the war and further efforts. And so those are the ways that I feel like I can best be able to support and be very bold about what it means to actually be a Angelino who cares about all of us and stands with all of us around the world.
As governor of the state of California, I would lead the immediate, full, and total divestment of any of our state tax dollars, university tuition, from not being invested in any genocidal activities, whether in Gaza, Palestine, Iran, or anywhere else. I'm going to lead the full divestment of all of our state resources from the war machine, period, full stop. I'm going to be doing this because we know cities and municipalities such as Alameda have done this with respect to Caterpillar, numerous university campuses. I'm a UCSB history professor. Both our faculty senate and our student senate did divestment votes, so we know this is wildly popular. It's a 70-30 issue, but the state is controlled by Zionists. And we need to break Zionist control. And I think that people need to understand that not only can we divest, we can essentially completely cripple the Zionist entity just by withdrawing California from the imperial machine. And you have an opportunity to actually do that between May 4th and June 2nd by writing Butch Ware onto a ballot. Because the reason why they've tried to knock me off of the ballot is because I've been within 5 points of the leading Democrat candidates in the polls, and they know that they cannot possibly hold up to an anti-Zionist candidate running in a top 2 vote from June to November. So we can end them. We can end them now. And the last thing that I'll say on this, just in the interest of time, is of course I'm going to protect our right to speak out. I did that by supporting the students on the UCSB encampment. I had flown out to give a talk. My students live streamed when 200 jackboot thugs in riot gear came to move 30 kids, most of them my students, off of the UCSB encampment. I don't think that our tax dollars or our tuition dollars should be going to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, or Boeing to kill people. And tomorrow at Harriet Tubman Center, we have an event, Divest from Occupation, Invest in Liberation. Right? Because where we can be spending those resources, instead of using them to incinerate children in tents, is actually, we don't even need to do it to pay for universal single-payer health care. We can do that right now just by getting the middlemen out of the
Right.
They take 30 cents off every health care dollar. We don't need additional funding to do that. But we can use it to pay for education. We can use it to subsidize the per pupil student spending across our public school system. We can use it to cover universal pre-K. It's a swords to plowshare argument. Stop wasting your money incinerating children in other countries and invest it in the children in this one.
I think I spoke about this a little bit in my intro, the fact of just speaking true to your values. And being Iranian, it's also something that is personally affecting me. And it's something that Palestine it's just part of who I am. I grew up supporting Palestine. If you go to Iran, there's a TV channel just about Palestine. Yep. And it's a live feed of all the stuff that the IOF is doing. So if you want to know how incorporated it is into the country, it's tremendously part of our culture. And so I remember when I was in high school, I met some US soldiers as a student, and they were like, I was standing up for Palestinians and how, they're just throwing rocks. And his response, well, rocks hurt. And it's crazy. It's pretty. I have to say also, it's amazing how much the tide has turned in the opinion regarding Palestine. And as someone who's been, an advocate for decades in this fight, it's monumental. But it's also the fact that none of our elected leaders have really caught up. And our government has not caught up to the public opinion. But I want to talk about a lot of things, but I feel like it's a responsibility, but it's also the fact that there's other people in my race who have tons of money, right? Like, I just got a notification this week that another candidate in this race who says their grassroots just got $500K from a PAC. If you got all that money, why can't you talk about Palestine? Because their goal is what's next for them. They want to run for Congress. They want to do the next thing. They will avoid answering questions about whether or not anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, whether or not there is apartheid. And that, because their goal is to be in with the DNC, and my goal is to do what's right and what's just for the people.
Yeah, and so I actually wish that this would come up more in my race because a lot of people don't care about the insurance commissioner race. So a lot of my campaign has been trying to get people to care about insurance. You know, it seems like a mundane topic.
We care about it.
Yeah, we care. Yeah, thank you. It hasn't come up as sort of like a distinguisher. The mainstream media is focusing on like the question of viability. However, I think it is an important question because, they will come up. As soon as any one of us is elected, we can assume that we will be under attack for being, too far left, too radical. But I know that, and we know that in the court of public opinion, Israel has lost. The Zionist project has lost. Public opinion has shifted, and I think the ultimate litmus test of this was the election of Zohar Mamdani in New York City. That was supposed to be the thing that like ended his campaign, was that he one time said Intifada revolution, but that actually like catapulted him to victory in some ways. And so I think what we do have to think about though is when we are under attack, we need to have people by our side because they're gonna say, this guy's a communist. This person wants to take away all of your property. And we need thousands of people, millions of people actually, who are at our defense that are saying, okay, this person's a socialist, they're a communist, so what? And that's why we have to build this into a movement that goes well beyond one political cycle, that goes beyond any political cycle. The movement is key. The movement is key to winning any reform, any thing that we actually want that's gonna provide immediate relief, but it's also gonna be the key to ultimately winning a revolutionary process in this country.
Look at you, you're working.
I was walking all day. I'm sweating.
I actually think Free Palestine is something other folks in my race say. And if you want to vote for any of the men in this race, that's your choice. But I'm here today because there will be youth and undocumented individuals and people who can't vote that will have to live with our choices today. And our future belongs to us. And I think Free Palestine is something that everybody and their mom, but not my mom, told me not to say day one. In the launch video, we were there with the kafia. We were there with footage of the encampments that we helped organize at UCLA, at Cal State LA, at the great ELAC, at PCC, Pasadena City College, where I work. And that's because that's bare minimum. That's our humanity. I want to say, wait, oh crap, what was the question? Oh, I think I'll land the plane. I think the thing that's so cool is today, an article came out in the PCC student newspaper, and they wrote about us, and they wrote about the change that's already happening because of our campaign that's 10 toes down, saying like Free Palestine means, free all of us. And I think me working in helping people transition from prison to universities, I know none of us are free until we all are. We're sitting here while there's children in the detention center downtown. That we have one of the largest jail systems on the face of the planet down the street from us right now. Like, that is all connected. And there's a reason why the blueprints ICE is currently operating under here in our communities was created in Gaza, And so I think that there's a difference in this race. I think that we've shown who we are since day one. Our messaging has not changed. We've lost a lot of money, and they can take it. $7,000, $30,000 is not worth losing any of our hope and commitment to our shared humanity. And so at PCC, they wrote about our campaign because it created the PCC YDSA chapter, and then one of my undocumented students that is also formerly incarcerated is running for student body president. Like, that's crazy, that's crazy. So we're already seeing a change, and they can't stop it. And I also want to shout out Vina, because this is our first time actually meeting-ish, but I call her all the time and cry all the time about how do we make this faster, But it's working, our work is working, and that's why there's big pushback. Why people are not talking about Palestine is because our work is working and they're scared, and they should be, because we're here, so.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, right?
So I want to talk about this and actually have a call to action for us as well, if that's possible, which is that the reason why that I think none of the other candidates, mayoral candidates that I'm aware of, there's a few of us out there, but what I've been paying attention to.
You're the only one.
I am, okay, I'm the only mayoral candidate who believes in Palestinian liberation, is because I'm also the only anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist candidate out there.
Yeah.
This is, and for me, the reason that I'm running the campaign that I am with the solutions and the platform I have, which is, as you all can see, a very socialist agenda, is because I believe that is the true path towards actual liberation for everybody. And it's all interconnected, as all of our panelists have said so far, right? Like what we eat, what we choose to eat here, how we shop, the surveillance we have on our bodies, right, is all interconnected with what's happening across the world. As much as we try to avoid and not have to think about it, they are all intersectional, and it's all about who's in power and who wants to keep power and who wants to keep the profit and keep profiting off of our bodies. And ultimately, the anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist agenda that we have is something that is fighting against the powers that be. And so why nobody else is willing to say it, it's because they don't want to lose that power. They want to maintain and hang on to that. Now, the call to action for us, though, is that the vast majority of Americans today do believe that the war, that the genocide in Palestine is something that is, it's an atrocity and that we need to end it, right? The majority of Americans do believe that. They see that. Because how could you not witness that children are dying at the hands of bombs, that soldiers are going and murdering typical civilians, right? And not only that, we know the history of Palestine, of the decades and decades and decades of oppression that have forced a group of people into where they are in this moment. And we created it. And we have to own that. And a lot of people feel too guilt and shameful to be able to admit that, right? But we have to admit that. So if the majority of Americans know that, the problem is they don't quite fully understand the imperialistic capitalist agenda that the US continues to demonstrate and take action year after year, day after day, and especially with its current president is going ballistics and bananas on, right? And so we have to do the job of building out our political education. And I will say that the other side has been winning, but this is the moment. This is why there's so many of us here right now running for office. Because we are in a moment where people are like, holy shit, like, I feel like something's off, you know? So we have an opportunity, so we have to keep engaging. And we have to also, and I will, and people might not be comfortable with this, we have to walk alongside people as they're figuring it out. Because the thing is, we've all been brainwashed. Right? We have to unlearn what we've learned in school to get to where we are. That's why I had to do all that studying and reading, and then I had to go to Palestine myself to figure it out. Why did I have to do that? Because I got schooled the other direction, and I was so utterly confused. Had I grown up in Iran, it would have been a totally different discourse, right? But I didn't. So it is our job as those who have seen the other side. Once you put on those glasses or take off your glasses, whatever the metaphor is, like you can't unsee what you see, right? So we have to now walk alongside other people, hold their hand and say, hey, I get it too, it's super confusing, but I really want to show you a different worldview. Take the red pill or the bill.
Actually, we go with the green pill over
the
here.
Green pill.
No team blue genocide, no team red fascism, just take the green pill. And by the way, our Matrix video with me as Morpheus drops next week. I'm not kidding. We did it. We filmed it with Rae Huang at Retrospectively. He plays Neo. So watch for that video to drop. So I'll follow from Ray's lead. Malcolm said, do not be in a hurry to condemn. There was a day that you did not know that which you know today. I know that we're all tapped in. Some of y'all got unplugged from the Matrix on October 7th. You know, others it was before that, but there are still folks that are, sipping on that blue Kool-Aid or that red Kool-Aid, and you gotta be patient with them sometimes. You gotta educate them, but you also have to stand strong in your principles, right? So I'm proud, in answer to this question, of three things. I'm proud that for 3 nights, I'll be in San Diego, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, to deliver keynote addresses at the galas for 3 different SJP chapters, right? That I get invited to those spaces because I've never hesitated to stand for Palestinian liberation. On October 11th of 2023, I organized a Black and Palestinian Solidarity event at my mosque in Santa Barbara. And on October 21st, 2023, a march across campus with 300 students saying, "Free Palestine from the river to the sea." Because it is our job to provide leadership and moral clarity in these moments, to not hide. And yes, the Zionists came for my job. They wrote an open letter to the university calling me a virulent anti-Semite and asking me for me to be fired. But I have tenure. I was like, I wish they would. I would love to cash a $10 million check and then go teach at Stanford next year. That's totally fine by me. And I'm also proud of the fact that I ran as the vice presidential candidate alongside Jill Stein against genocidal candidates in both parties. And we got 1 million votes for the White House. Because we're the third party that has the electoral access across the country, and Greens have won 57% of the elections in which we have stood a candidate nationwide in the last 3 years. 79% of those elections in the state of California. When they don't have a fire hose of mainstream media and money to throw at a race, we beat Team Blue and Team Red together, so take the green pill. Last point on this. My competition, the ones that are in the race and actually polling, are all Zionists. So I'll end with bars. Tom Steyer in the dryer fire when I spin his block. He a billionaire and liar about where he got his stock. Boy, stop, he caught. Heard you spent 400 million campaign, damn shame. But I guess that nigga chillin' like champagne, said plain. Can't trust no one with $1 billion, run for vanity. And man, he should've gave it to the children. A calamity, a tragedy, can't buy a personality. Got Karen Porter mad at me and swallow well too. Cause you gotta work for Israel to run for Team Blue. Said you gotta work for Israel to run for Team Blue. Got fists for Zionist, Christian, atheist, a Jew, agnostic, Muslim, Coptic, and a Mr. Hindu. We through paying taxes to kill kids out in Iran, Libya, Sudan, and Congo, Palestine, or Pakistan, California, make a stand, cause I'm coming with a plan. Divest from occupation, warfare, incarceration, invest in people, not prisons, care instead of cages, free tuition, school admission, funding for our education. Why you waiting, hesitating, think a Greek could never win? In the UK, we proved it, join the movement, help me do it. Take the mask off as a challenge, unearth the fight within. Take the power back from billionaires. When we fight, we win!
My mom's so happy.
You didn't know you were in your bars.
Okay, well, next question is. As we all know, this genocide began under a Democratic Party administration, and the Democratic Party has not only supported the genocide, but has been a co-director of the genocide. And the Democratic Party, of course, controls our state. So we'd like to ask the panelists how you plan to fight against the Democratic Party leadership and prevent being subordinated to the Democratic Party apparatus and build a political alternative for working people. And this time we'd like to ask Lalo to go first because he needs to leave soon, I believe.
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of the question?
How the candidates should oppose the Democratic Party, its support for genocide and war, and build a political alternative for working people.
Yeah. So that's exactly what we are trying to do with the Peace and Freedom Party. The Peace and Freedom Party has existed since the 60s. It was formed in the anti-war movement, anti-Vietnam War movement, and practically overnight, the party got ballot access in multiple states also. And it is our responsibility to give people a viable third party. And that's why we run in elections. That's why we have candidates up and down the state for governor, for insurance commissioner, for superintendent of public instruction, for controller, and for lieutenant governor. And that's why we are in a left unity slate also with the Green Party, because we want to show people what our policies could do. And so when it comes to the Democratic Party, I mean, we always remind people, like, California is a Democratic supermajority state. It has a blue executive, a blue legislature. Most of our municipalities in the urban areas are also Democratic-led, but we have very little to show for it. And there are folks within the Democratic Party that are not in the leadership, that are sort of at the very cutting edge of it, that are trying to break away from it, and we want to work with them too. But ultimately, we know that we are not going to have any concessions or anything really meaningful handed to us by the Democratic Party. We're going to have to take power and wrest power away from their hands.
Come on.
And so what that means is we have to build Peace and Freedom Party as the electoral home of the movement, of the labor unions, of the social movement, of the anti-war movement, and people will naturally see it as their political electoral home because the two billionaire-backed parties have done very little to actually meet the needs of people. And so I think, once we expose that, and that's a lot of work, that's walking people through it, and it takes more than one election cycle, but once we experience that shift in consciousness, there's really no going back. So I'll leave it at that.
Lalo Vargas, everybody!
I also have to leave at 8. Just a flag. But I am running as a Democrat in this race, beating Jimmy Gomez in his own playing field. But I have been very clear since day one that we are not in this race to ask anyone to return to the Democratic Party, or certainly not stay in it as it exists today. I have refused to accept any corporate PAC money since day one, and that's just bare minimum again, but also any of the endorsements from the California Democratic establishment in particular, we're just not interested in that. So we are proud to be endorsed by Justice Democrats, which backed Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, our only Palestinian American in Congress now, AOC, and I think the other endorsement we're really proud to have earned is California Working Families Party, and just like a number of incredible organizations, like If Not Now Los Angeles and the Filipino and Korean American Democratic Club, that wants to change this party and from within. And so I'm, someone who believes being on panels and in conversations like this is really important, but I also know my contribution to my community is unseating one of AIPAC's top 5 recipients of campaign contributions. There's no reason why the heart of Los Angeles, a safe blue seat, is held by someone who is funded by Trump's biggest donors. Jimmy Gomez has accepted over $3 million from AIPAC, an unregistered pro-Israel lobby group. He is backed by a $125 million pledge by Big AI, while we are on the front lines of preventing further data center expansions. And I personally am working really hard behind the scenes to push the AI moratorium in Congress. And Jimmy Gomez is fully accepting that money from those also funding Republicans. Dang. Lastly, he is backed by corporate real estate developers while I'm living paycheck to paycheck too. I work 2 jobs like many other Angelinos and running for Congress. This is actually crazy. What are we doing? But I think it's not that hard to stand up to the establishment and their blood money. And if I can do it, anybody can. And you know what? I think that the establishment is really scared of us saying that out loud, both the Democratic and the Republicans that are profiting off of those perpetuating our pain and our problems here. And so it's up to us. And I'm happy to do my part.
It's better to do it that way, that way we change up the order.
Okay, what is it then? Her or her?
So then we're going,
Her,
and
yeah,
then the
her.
next one, let's start with you. And then that way,
We're figuring it out.
We got this.
Let's see. Is this working?
It's low here, we'll try this one.
Okay. All right. I think it's all low. That's okay. Sorry, now I forgot the question. I was so focused on what you were saying.
How are you going to deal with the Democrats?
Oh, deal with the Democrats. Okay. Okay, so this is a long story, y'all. So in the last major election, I switched to the Peace and Freedom Party. and because I was sick of the Democrats. But also I knew that there was a real chance that Trump would win. And so I did go and canvass for Kamala Harris in Arizona, knowing that we needed to block that vote from Trump. And you all know the history of what we currently have. So I stayed a Peace and Freedom Party person. And partly it's because I've been working the state legislature work as working for Housing Now as deputy director. And what we've seen in the state legislature is that our whole state are Democrats, but it means absolutely nothing. And we've gotten nothing done. You all who have been working on healthcare for all know that far too well, right? CalCare, right? So, like, this is what we've been facing year after year, that just because you're a Democrat means nothing in California. And so I've been so fed up. Now, after Mamdani won his election, I was really inspired. And I thought, well, maybe there's a chance. And so I did switch to the Democratic Party, and I am currently still registered as a Democrat. And I actually thought very much once I decided to start running that I would switch. Because I was like, I don't want to run as a Democrat because they don't currently represent me anymore. But Caruso was still in the run for that at that point, and he was running as a Democrat. And we all know, unfortunately, a lot of people tend to just go to the ballot, don't really do their research. Thank you. I love how we're all like working together here. They don't usually do their research, and so they're going to see Rae, like, I don't know, independent or whatever, right? And then Caruso Democrat, and they're just going to root for Caruso. And I was like, oh shoot, like this is a problem. And so I remained a Democrat. Of course, now he's no longer running. But I do have the support of Feel the Burn, San Fernando Valley, which is a Democratic Party club, but very much, a Bernie Democrat, which I would say that I'm much more affiliated to, although maybe even more progressive. But anyway, my point being is that how can we block, or how can we hold the Democrats accountable? I think that we have to show and prove to them that they don't own us and they don't own power, and that ultimately at the end of the day, Republican or Democrat, they're both the same to me. Yeah. If they're going to continue to be owned by the tech oligarchs, if they're going to be continued to own by, all of the people at the top, all the billionaires, which you've seen, is basically what's happened, right? The reason why the Republicans are now in power is because all of the billionaire bros switched from the Democratic club, boy club, if you will, right, to the Republican boy club, right? And so, bro club, I'm gonna call them the bro club. So we have to build power. We have to build working power. I don't care what we call our party. I know that this is us, right here in this room, right? Because there's a lot of parties being represented here right now. A lot of different places are people, but what I do know is that we as a collective have to build power, and we have to build coalition. And that is maybe my call to action for us, is that we have not done a good job of building coalition. There's a lot of us truly progressive, liberation-minded, parties right now. And we have to come together and talk to one another. We have to come together and organize together, not compete with one another. And we have to figure out how we are going to build power, in what way, and what political strategy. Because I would say right now, we're not really quite doing that. We know what we want. We know where we agree, which is a hell of a lot. We know exactly what we're fighting for and what we're fighting against. But we have not figured out the political strategy. And that is a question for us to figure out, which is why all of us on these seats are of different parties. Because we don't know what to do and how to run against a machine that's still is unfortunately holding the power. So if we can figure it out, then all of us here on the seat right now can know exactly how we can run together as a slate or as a whatever, and what party affiliation to actually be able to win. So that's how I would suggest us actually beating the Democrats and all the capitalists and all the imperialists in our country.
I think that it's important that we remember that if we share goals and values and integrity, right? That we're not corruptible, we can't be purchased with corporate dollars, with PAC dollars, and we share the same goals of collective liberation. We share the same values of human dignity for everybody, no matter who you pray with or who you lay with, no matter your gender identity or expression, that you're willing to stand for all people, then it shouldn't matter what color jersey you're wearing. It shouldn't matter whether it's green or blue or peace and freedom colored. And having said that, I'll just be honest. The Democrat Party died and is buried in Gaza. They will never recover from what they've done to themselves, and they shouldn't. To me, that word means the same thing as a Nazi. It associates a person with genocide. And I understand people making a different strategic decision than me, because it's hard to run against the duopoly. They're actively trying to destroy me. And some other leftists have actually piled on in their efforts to try to knock me off of the ballot. And I'm still going to fight them anyway, for a simple reason. I learned at the school of El Haj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. Malcolm said, the liberal's a fox, it bares its teeth, you think it's smiling, you're on the menu.
That's right.
The conservative is a wolf. When it bares its teeth, it's into a vicious snarl that leaves the black man no illusion as to where he stands. Malcolm taught us that we are caught between two predatory parties that differ only in the way that they hunt.
Yes.
One by cunning and guile, the other by sheer force. And if you were to make a Venn diagram of the donor base of the Democrats and Republicans, you're staring at a single circle. Because who funds you runs you, and the same corporations fund both of those parties. And it's the reason why Oliver Ma literally wanted to endorse me and was bullied by DSA to dropping his endorsement. They threatened to pull their statewide endorsement if he endorsed me, a Green Party candidate.
Wow.
So understand that from my standpoint, I understand why people would make a different strategic decision, but I'm never putting on the jersey of Team Blue Genocide. They're us. And Malcolm said in '64 to my community, the black community, in his speech, The Ballad of the Bullet, he said, we're gonna knock on every door in Harlem and we're gonna register every black face, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. We're gonna say, show us your card. And whoever did not have the responsibility to register themselves, we are gonna have words with them and we just might move them out of town. It's gonna be the ballot or the bullet. I believe we have a revolutionary responsibility to get people out of that party, because respectfully, it's a capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist party. And there is no way of healing that. That cannot be fixed. So yes, it can be used in particular elections, but it cannot be fixed. It can't. So I'm going to go out on this. Malcolm said in that same speech of the Democrats to the black community what I say to all of our oppressed and marginalized community. He said of the Democrats, you put them first and they put you last. And that makes you a chump. That makes you a political chump. Malcolm's exact words. So I ask y'all, ain't y'all tired of being chumped? Aren't y'all tired of 60 years of supermajorities and we have the highest poverty rates of any state in the union, despite the fact that we have the third largest economy on the planet behind China and Germany? That has happened on Team Blue's watch. Team Red ain't have shit to do with it. That is at their feet. So as for me, quant à moi, as one says in French, I'm at war with that party because that party is at war with me. That party is at war with people that look like me. That party is at war with Chicano communities, immigrant communities, farm laborers, trans people, working class people. So they can come get these hands.
I'm so glad Butch opened that door up, so I'm going to pass through that. I have a lot of words to say about the Democratic Party. I first ran as independent because I cannot touch something that has so much blood on it.
Come on.
And Aaron actually poached me and just said, you need to join the Peace and Freedom Party. And I was like, well, sure, tell me what's up. And I've been, like I said before, an anti-war activist for decades. I haven't really been a Democrat. I've been independent most of my life. And even when Obama got elected, you know, I was scrutinizing him. And when he picked Rahm Emanuel for his chief of staff, a raging Zionist, that already kind of set the impression of what kind of government he was going to have. The first person who assassinated a U.S. citizen. The person who created the policy to separate kids from their parents at the born. The person who created Dilley, the child detention center.
Yes.
A prison for children.
Yep.
And yet the media was silent at that time. Why? Because a Democrat was in office.
Right.
But now they're talking about Trump, right? And these Democrats, thank you for that. I'm like, I didn't find up now. I want to stand up. These Democrats, okay, well, yeah, these Democrats, I am so tired of them pointing fingers at Trump when they are the ones that raise the military budget. Trying to say that they care about immigrants when they just authorized Trump to have warrantless surveillance on all Americans. The approval rating for both parties have been at the lowest ever. This is the time for us to break out of this party system. I get a post on AIPAC on my social media. Every single Democrat, except one person, is taking money from AIPAC in this state.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
In California, we have other organizations, but again, every single one of those people voted to censor Palestine.
Yeah. That's right.
And what pisses me off, besides the fact that I am running on principles, is I see other people just running with these AIPAC Democrats. The same week that they started bombing Iran, I saw an article about the Democrat response. Derek Tran, a local Democrat congressman, his response was, Iran is our #1 terrorist country and our #1 enemy. That same week, the other DSA candidate in my race proudly announced an endorsement from him. My whole life, I was afraid of talking about that I was from Iran because I was worried someone's going to call me a terrorist. And this man, after my country is bombed, continues calling us terrorists. That is the Democratic Party. I'm not trying to sanitize a party by giving them my integrity. They don't deserve it. Started with Trump. Sanctions didn't start with Trump.
That's right.
Sanctions are an act of war.
Yep.
This started before Trump was even in office.
That's right.
They have been talking about bombing Iran for decades. Hillary Clinton, that war hawk murderer, said she wanted to split up Iran into 4 pieces. Yeah, Kamala, blood on her hands Harris, is an architect of the genocide as well. So I would never, also Lindsay Horvath is also a Zionist, also endorsing the other, anyways. But I would never give my time or integrity or life to a party that wants to see and contributes to my death. I'm not going to be forced to choose from my killers. And that's why I will not run with the 2-party system.
Very powerful responses here. Very hard to follow. I think we should land on that because I think these are very strong answers, and I know at least another one of our panelists does have to go. So we had a few more questions if you do want to stay around a little bit longer, but just if anybody does have to leave, we want to make sure we're respecting that. Yes. If you want to.
Can I do 30 seconds?
Yes, please.
Thank you guys again for hosting this. I'm so grateful, Dave, and for the folks. Thank you. And honestly, I'll just keep it short and sweet. I'm so sorry I do have to go, but I'm Angela Gonzalez-Torres. I'm proud to be on the ballot. I am the only woman in this race. I'm born and raised in this community. I am a proud graduate of our public schools. I'm an advocate for justice, which is my ballot designation. And when I'm done with Jimmy Gomez, he won't even be able to get a coffee in our community without people faced with genocide. And so I'm really counting on your vote, if you can, June 2nd. And thank you guys. It's a pleasure to share this.
You already got my vote. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so just want to give an opportunity for the rest of the candidates to also give closing statements.
Unless you give at least 2 more questions.
I can stay, yeah, I can stay.
Amazing, yes.
Yeah, keep it going. Let's go. Come on.
Y'all tired yet? Say hell no. Y'all ready to quit? Hell no. Let's go.
Okay, well, we wanted to ask about AI and automation. It's an issue that many workers are very concerned about. There's already been a wave of mass layoffs, and by all accounts, we're just at the beginning of that. So we want to ask what the candidates think should be done to protect jobs and fight against these mass layoffs. And so. Thank you. Who's first?
If we count the order, then it would be Rae, then me, and then I'll go first on the next one.
All right. So, AI, is this working? Okay, great. So AI, we have to significantly regulate AI because it is ruining and hurting our communities from a local level as a parent. In the way that it's hurting my children's ability to learn and educate themselves, what they're actually understanding about the world. To, of course, job security, as we've been talking about. We know that significantly hurting our art and entertainment industries, as well as even technology. A lot of our tech workers are losing jobs right now because of AI, and we're seeing everybody and, there's other mayoral candidates, for example, who are saying that they want to get rid of more staffing workforce in the city and be able to instead just use AI to fix our problems, which is ridiculous to me. Yeah, right? And so one of the ways that I'm planning on doing this is one, by the way, in the state, I've already been working on in partnership on legislation to be able to curb AI, particularly in its ability to in terms of price fixing, right? And so where it's gouging our rents and to prevent rent gouging, et cetera. And so that is something that we do have to support and enforce, and as the mayor to have a bully pulpit to continue to call for that. To have strengthened regulations. But the other side of it is actually one of the ways I plan on doing this is ensuring that we are able to stay on top of technology by having an AI and tech commission. That way we can have commissioners who are staying updated on looking at on upcoming new technology and AI technology and making recommendations on how we should be pursuing protections and regulating that for our city. And so that way we can protect our city, because ultimately at the end of the day we keep coming up with these new laws, but we just can't keep up with how fast technology is moving and growing. And so we need to have dedicated commissioners who can keep up on this on a regular basis and be able to help us really dig through this and move along with the times. And we want this to be a consistent thing and not just for a one-year term, but really as we move forward. The other side of it as well is that I'll just end there. I was going to go to surveillance and stuff, but that's really not AI. Okay, your turn.
Thank you, Rae. In the interest of time, I'll try to be brief. So we know that AI has been utilized in developing targeting mechanisms to slaughter Palestinians. Daddy's home, right? This targeting and processing program that waits until a Palestinian adult male that is supposedly a target, which of course means just you're breathing, enters the residence, they wait till you go home and then target immediately so that you take out maximum numbers of civilians. We also know that here at home, that AI centers, data centers are put in Black communities, in brown communities, draining precious water resources. There are always devastating environmental impacts associated with capitalist deployment of technologies, and those hit Black and brown communities first. They always have. So we need to understand that we have to absolutely be at war with the current configuration and deployment of so-called artificial intelligence, which, to be fair, in most cases isn't AI at all. It's just large language models. That's all it is. It doesn't think. That's what is it? That's advertising language. It's not intelligent. And at the same time, we need to understand that AI is actually just a tool. AI is not the problem. Capitalism is the problem. Right? Because in a world where that kind of computational power was managed by an anti-capitalist executive branch or legislative branch, it wouldn't be putting people out of work. It would be making it so we have to work about 3 hours per day. And that's what they promised us, right? They promised us that all of the technological advancement would make our lives easier, and it can still do that. I do not want people to be knee-jerk reflexive in their opposition to so-called AI. There are Norwegian companies and countries that locate their data centers in the sea to resolve the cooling issues that consume so much water in American AI. The Chinese use of artificial intelligence also does not have the same kind of environmental footprint. And those applications are actually lighter in their footprint. And again, I'm a Green Party candidate. We do the research on the ecological consequences. Those applications of AI are actually lighter on the environment than grass-fed beef, right? So we shouldn't be Luddites. We shouldn't fear the technology. We need to regulate the fucking technology, and we need to get the capitalism and the imperialism under control. Last part, because I see the sign. I mentioned capitalism and imperialism. Don't forget the white supremacy. Right? Because what we are seeing is an intensification of racialized hatred, anti-LGBTQ+. All of this has to do with the people that run and construct the systems. The tool itself can either be good or bad. The systems themselves are the ones that are driving the outcomes. So we need to be 10 toes down against capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy. And we need to be thinking actually about how we can use technologies to make working class people's lives easier, better, healthier.
Yes.
I totally agree, and definitely capitalism. And just to point out, China, I think, just passed a law saying that AI cannot take away anybody's jobs. So there is another side to this. And going back to the city attorney's rule, which again reviews contracts, and there is an executive order from Garcetti, which is to prioritize local businesses for certain contracts, and we should be prioritizing local people, people of color, people with businesses in the community when we give out contracts to people. And the other thing I wanted to also mention, I was endorsed by the Transport Workers Union, and one of the questions, they were also worried about AI when it comes to things like Waymos and other automation, because they're transport workers. And one thing I really liked that Mamdani did, and he did it because he was with the Taxi Workers Union, but he got Waymos out of New York.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not just AI when it's Waymo, we're also giving a handout to billionaires.
Exactly.
Because we're basically giving them the infrastructure without paying anything, the streets, the cocoa food delivery service that's taking out someone else's jobs. So it's not just about the dangers of AI. It's giving a handout that these people are probably not even paying taxes, and so making sure to prioritize local jobs, and the state and local cities can regulate these things, and they should. And I would want to advise them to make sure to do that because they are a danger. And why does this COCO vehicle, it's literally, if you see on the back, they are remote controlled vehicles. It literally says autonomous remote controlled vehicle. It's not a robot. Somebody is sitting in a room, like a little PS2 game controller, trying to take up the sidewalk. And I do want to also mention the surveillance, it is AI as well. Yep. So that's something we should make sure to address because, like Butch was saying, the AI is connected to the military, it was used in Iran, and all of these things are connected. Connecting the data centers, taking away our jobs, taking away our resources. Right now, it looks like Texas is running out of water in Corpus Christi, but the corporations are sucking that water out of the community. People keep telling me FLOC is inevitable, but they need our land and our resources to fund those data centers. Yep. And what we can do is stop them from coming into our communities. And that's what we need to do. We need to prioritize environmental laws, prioritize using our resources for people and not corporate profit. And that's what we've seen in Monterey Park doing and standing up for their people. There we go. And other cities around the country. And it's about having somebody in City Hall that also has your back and make sure that we are on your side to block those contracts because we have to prioritize working people right now more than ever because they are trying to suck us dry.
California is occupied territory.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
It's been occupied territory since it was a settler colony. It was occupied territory, after the Alamo, it's occupied territory now. And there is a direct connection between the foreign occupations. Huey P. Newton said, police occupy our communities the way that foreign troops occupy territory, right? He said that they can't possibly be there to protect our property because we own no property. They can't possibly be there to protect our rights and liberties because they themselves violate our rights and liberties. So every Black revolutionary hero understood that there was an organic connection between oppression abroad and oppression at home. We know that the same training techniques are utilized by occupation forces in both places. So we have to understand that our fight against ICE in these streets and the fight for Palestinian liberation is a single fight. What gathered us here together is a fight against occupation. Now, as governor of California, man, would I have some weapons in that fight. Okay? So I've already said, and this is on the record publicly, that as governor of the state of California, I swear my oath on the Constitution of the Republic and on the Constitution of California, which means that I'm actually constitutionally forbidden from complying with any unconstitutional federal interventions. And so in my interpretation, what that means is that ICE is going to have to go through every lawyer and law enforcement officer in the state before they so much as touch a hair on the head of any California resident. And I will prosecute any police departments that are found complicit running cover or carrying water for ICE. I'm an abolitionist, but not when it comes to putting cops in jail. So the goal is to actually utilize the resources of the state to protect all of the state's people. And we've seen people like Brendan Johnson in Chicago line up garbage trucks to stop ICE invasions. I was in Minneapolis because Alex Preddy was killed a block away from where I grew up on the south side of Minneapolis. I used to hear my mom's whistle from that corner and know it was time to go home, right? And what I saw there was a community that got organized for rapid response and for ICE Watch. Well, what if the governor was providing resources for NorCal Resist or SB Resista or YC Defensa? Because the Black Panther Party model was mutual aid plus direct action plus electoral power. So what if we had an executive branch that was reinforcing our community defense mechanisms? Because who keeps us safe?
We keep us safe.
So what if instead of the state shoveling shit down on our communities, I was providing resources for us to keep our communities safe from these pigs and utilizing the resources of the state to keep the feds from kidnapping people out of our communities?
Hell yeah.
So I've been fighting ICE since before they existed. as an immigrant rights activist. Even before ICE existed, there was INS. And I remember when the NSEERS program started, which is a program that was created by Bush to deport Muslim Americans. I was one of 15 people, I think this was in 2002, in front of the INS building in Los Angeles. And a Syrian man was crying to me about his brother being deported just because there was a typo on his visa. And that was the excuse that they were using at that time. And I want to make clear that ICE was created because of the war on terror.
Thank you. That's right.
And, exactly. And everything that we're seeing now exists because it was used against Muslim Americans. And we need to speak about that more because this is not just one group's fight, this is everyone's fight. And Palantir was created to survey Muslim Americans. It was created in 2003, around that time, because Bush was grabbing illegally acquired data with Verizon that was retroactively approved by Congress, and they now are getting pretty much every government contract under Trump. It's wild, but they continue to exist under every administration since Bush, right? So surveillance, that's what I'm getting at there, is that's the first thing we need to divest from. Flock surveillance. And Palantir is associated with flock surveillance and OpenAI. What's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Iran are testing grounds for what's happening here. But we have to also remember that the police and surveillance have been happening in the United States for decades. So this is not new with COINTELPRO and whatnot, but we need to divest from surveillance. There was a bill that the state had passed on Newsom's desk to try to create a protocol for surveillance and curb it, and Newsom vetoed it. We have no policy on how surveillance is gathered, how data is stored. Right now, LAPD can do whatever it wants, and it's being used against protesters and immigrants alike. And I want to invite everybody to come with me. I've gone to many meetings. Tuesday at the Board of Police Commissioners, where we asked the city to divest from Flock. And we will be back there this Tuesday at 9 a.m. I want to also state that as the city attorney, I am the chief prosecutor for all misdemeanors in the city of LA, and I'm prepared to bring charges against ICE officers.
There we go.
And join Larry Krasner, the district attorney of Philadelphia, and joining a legion of prosecutors across the state or the country that will bring charges against ICE officers. And I will sue private companies that are violating the rights of Angelenos as well. There's multiple areas we can pursue, but we have to, also let's fund Represent LA and let's give money to immigrants to make sure they have legal defense too. And that's something that I helped work on when I was in the city attorney's office, but our city attorney right now is giving tons of money to outside legal help, big law firms that are actually destroying our planet. I want to give that money to immigrant defense instead.
I like going last because it means I can just follow these two, and they've said so much great work, so thank you so much for to my other panelists, which I totally agree with. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on the city side of things, just because that's from the seat that I'm running from. And similar to what Aida just said, I will be calling for the ending of the contract of Flock. I will be calling for, we need to be holding our ICE agents accountable and bringing them to court, bringing them to justice. We know that the LAPD has been in collusion with ICE. We've seen it, we've experienced it. And so we need to call them accountable. One of the ways we can do this immediately, of course, is firing Chief McDonald. The second is to make sure that we place on the police commissioners board people who actually agree with us in defunding the police and putting those resources into actually protecting our communities and actually serving our communities by ensuring that we fund our housing, we fund job security, we fund our youth programs, our after-school programs, our seniors, right? All the things that we're defunding, that the police is defunding us, we need to be sure that we are instead putting those resources where we actually feel safe. And that is also represent LA, just like Aida also mentioned. The other area as well is that I've lost my point here, is that we also need to be sure that we are supporting our mutual aid organizations that are on the ground doing the work of actually protecting us, and resourcing them and working collaboratively and protecting and expanding our unarmed crisis response. We know that LAPD has been trained in Israel, so we know there's a direct relationship and correlation, right, between these agencies internationally, right? Like, so we need to be able to end this kind of partnership that already tells us exactly where they stand and who they are, which is a racist regime.
That's right.
ICE is, for me, the way that I see them, is basically Trump's extra secret, what are they called? Secret police, right? And so we have to be able to rally against that and shut it down, and we can hold them accountable. And so this is the opportunity for us to do that. And then lastly, I do very much believe in the creation of more third spaces. And these are third spaces that we can create that are publicly owned, where we can support and protect them, so that way when our vendors and our shopkeepers and our small businesses are selling, that we can actually ensure that they have real safety and that we can protect them, because it's all public space, and that means it's city protected space. And you know what? We live in the city of LA. And so we have our own constitution, we have our own practices, we have our own laws, and so we will hold accountability to ensure that no ICE agent comes on and interferes or hurts or terrorizes our own families, our own workers, our own people.
All power to us.
Okay, well, just want to give everyone a chance to make closing statements. If we've already heard quite a bit about your politics tonight, but if there are any points that you'd like to further emphasize.
This should be Aida.
Actually, I'm gonna stand.
There you go. I will too.
Take another step. Thank you. There was a lot of points that I wanted to get to, and I'm going to talk about a little bit right now. But getting to this part was not easy. I'm an immigrant raised by a single mom who moved almost every year of my life. I wasn't raised with a lot of resources. I went to public schools, and from a young age, I was taking the bus to school, as was my mom, to work. And I'm running against people who come from Ivy League private schools and big law firms that have billion-dollar assets and lots of PAC money. But what they don't know is they're messing with a fighter that knows how to take on power. And I've been dealing with bullies all my life because I am an immigrant from Iran. And almost every single workplace I've worked at, I've had to face Islamophobic and racist remarks, which I've continued to face in this race. Being an anti-war Iranian in Los Angeles is not easy. I've received threats and very, demeaning, demoralizing comments. Even somebody, I'm just gonna say it, the co-chair of the Palestine group in DSA said, don't support Aida because all she does is post social media on Palestine. Yeah, and that was after the Iran war had already been starting. And it was disgusting to me because this is my life. This is about my country being bombed right now. And this is a personal thing to me. And so, and I have a friend who kept telling me, you have so much courage doing this. And I shouldn't have to.
Right.
I shouldn't have to have courage. I should be supported in this race and not have to face bullies from Zionists and Democrats alike. It should be a supporting environment for working class people. And that's what I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to break down these walls, not only for myself, for other people out there as well, because we should not be intimidated by people who have money, who want to keep this a mafia for themselves, because this government belongs to us, not the billionaires, not the corporations, not the Zionists. This is our city, And the city is built by working people. And if you want to support me, I got QR codes on my flyers. Please donate. Thank you, Gina. She's my ride or die from the beginning. Thank you so much. We're going to have another event next Friday at Harriman Tubman Center. If you're in the Valley, I'll be over there on Sunday. Hit me up on any other events. But this is about building something better, building something accountable to the people. And right now, we don't have a single person in City Hall that's willing to stand up for us. Because every single event I've gone to, and I've seen many of y'all at rallies, I'm the only one there that's a candidate in my race, and I don't see any elected officials for the most part. And so I want to change that, because I'm running to be a public servant, because my campaign is about the people, just like you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should I stand?
There you go.
So, that is loud.
Get louder.
Yeah.
Say it with your chest.
So I have to say this, and I think all of us on this panel feel this way, which is this really is not about a movement. This is about a movement.
Yeah.
For us in our campaign, this has never been about winning in November. This has always been about expanding our base and our power and our movement and our ability to be able to transform what we've always had. Because it's possible. But the one challenge that we have is a lot of people don't think it's possible. That's why they stay home instead of voting. And we know voting is not the thing that's going to end up transforming us. We know it's only one piece of a very large puzzle. And that's showing up at May Day and the March Today, for example, right? Showing up when you're doing mutual aid and supporting each other for your neighbor. Reading, participating in book clubs and reading and getting politically educated. Bringing your friend to that book club to make sure they get educated, right? Like communicating, talking about what you're learning about. These are the things that are actually going to transform what we need for us to live, for us to actually have real freedom and be liberated. We know that. And so what I want to invite us to think about and do is not just come out and vote for us, but to actually come out and participate like you have today, but also lean in harder. That the door canvassing, that the text banking, and I hate these terms because they feel so, I'll be honest with you, political campaigning has been difficult for me because I hate transactional relationships, and a lot of political campaigning feels transactional. And so I really am, and we really are, trying to change the tune that it's not about a transactional relationship of getting you to vote for me, but about building an authentic relationship and saying, hey, I want you to join this larger movement, this larger body of people, of a collective, of the working people, because we know there's a hell of a lot more of us, right, than there are the billionaires in this world, right? And so we have to keep inviting people into these organizing spaces so that way, because even if we win in November, it means absolutely nothing if we have not built out our movement, if we have not built out our base, if we have not done the political education to be able to open those eyes and take off those glasses and actually see the world for what it is and take the green pill.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand I'm supposed to pitch myself to you and tell you to vote for me or whatnot, and I hope you will. But I really also hope that you will take that further and organize. And there's so many ways. All of us have campaigns where we're expanding our volunteer base. All of us are really inviting you in this moment to lean in a hell of a lot harder because we have to in this moment. And the most important thing, though, I have to leave you with is that we have to hang on to each other. I will tell you that there are days and there are weeks when I still am in despair. I turn on the news and I was like, fuck, I shouldn't have turned on NPR today. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so hard to be able to stay focused on what I have. But when we show up to spaces like this, when I show up to a rally or to a march, I am reminded that we have a hell of a lot more hope because we're the ones building it, and it has to be here. It has to be in our immediate physical spaces for us to feel that. And sometimes it's just bringing bread to a meeting, and other times it's bringing a coffee to a meetup, right? To when we're getting together for mutual aid, right? Like, those are spaces of community. Those are spaces of movement building. I know I'm supposed to be at time. So anyway, like Ida said, please contribute, both not just your time and your money. Please do those things, but also, like, this is soul work, y'all. Like, this really is soul work. I'm a pastor. Did I say that earlier? I'm a pastor. This is spiritual work.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, like, we have to lean in, and we have to hold each other, and we have to pray with each other. When I say pray, y'all know what I mean. I'm not talking about praying to Jesus or God or Allah or whoever it is. Like, I'm talking about praying together, that when 2 or 3 of us are together, there's something that's going to change. There's something that's going to transform.
Amen. Amen.
Dang, y'all in the back couldn't see me that whole time, huh? Okay. And I won't stand directly in front of Rae, so I'll move to the middle. Bars. 2 shows, 8:30 and 11. Don't forget to tip. And that's the one and only Chanel Pittman. And a round of applause for Chanel. So I want to begin with just first thanking our hosts. I want to thank Midnight Girls. I want to thank our moderators. I want to thank the other panelists. Rae, you asked for it, so you got my vote. And Aida, you already know you got my vote. You know, we talked about this. I want to thank all of the Butch Ware for Governor volunteers that I see. Y'all are rocking the swag. Stand up if you got one of the shirts on. Go ahead, Shiesta. Stand up with the shirt. Turn around so people see. Some people said, you know, the first time they saw it, they said, like, I didn't even know Snoop Dogg was running for governor. I still had the ponytail. And then the last thanks before I close is that I'd like everybody to just give a round of applause for my wife, Clementina Aragon. She makes everything possible. And like has worked tirelessly behind the scenes on everything, on the vice presidential run, on this gubernatorial run, from Stockton, CA, daughter of 2 parents that came undocumented from Mexico, translated for her parents when she was a kid. She's taught me everything about how to build power and work to fight, especially for the Chicano community in the state of California. She's not just my wife, she's also my teacher, and so I wanted to share this moment with her.
Yeah.
And now let's land this plane real quick. I told you that I read Malcolm's autobiography and it changed my life. I didn't really tell you why. And it changed my life because before I got the PhD, before I taught Black Revolutionary Studies, before I became a UCSB professor, you know, I'm the son of a locksmith that had a 6th grade education, and he was a hustler. And he stayed strapped at all times. And my mom was a teenage mother. She was 15 years old, pregnant with me, told by her high school guidance counselor to abort the child because she was pregnant by a Black man. White supremacy was trying to take me out before I even got here, so that's why Malcolm's autobiography spoke to me in the ways that it did. That was 1973 in Washington, D.C. And yes, I said 1973, I'm 52 years old. Even light-skinned Black don't crack when you moisturize, y'all. So we're keeping it together. But in all seriousness, Malcolm became my teacher, and I want to share some teachings from Malcolm as I close here. And I hope that you can participate. I was raised in an African-American rhetorical tradition that's built on call and response. So I'm gonna start with the call, and I hope that you guys can respond, because this is what Malcolm said. Malcolm said, "We are not outnumbered." We are not outnumbered. Okay, we're gonna do this again. Some people know the answer. Just repeat after me. We are not outnumbered. We are not outnumbered. We are only out-organized.
We are only out-organized.
Do you hear it? We're only out-organized. So then what's the solution? Organize, right? So Malcolm continued from there. He said, never let your enemy tell you how many of you there are. Never let the man that you are against form your opinions for you. You guys need to let that sink in, because what they are not going to tell you is that we are winning. I am winning the race for governor right now. How do we know? Tom Steyer has raised $160,000 from people that aren't named Tom Steyer. He's donated $122 million to his own campaign, paid $38 million in YouTube ads, and the day that they moved to knock me off the ballot, that had purchased him exactly a 4-point lead on me in the polls. We have raised, not taking a single penny of corporate donations, almost 3 times what Tom Steyer has raised. If you take Chevron and the corporations out of what Javier Becerra has raised, we're beating them. We have thousands of volunteers up and down the state. And when Rogue DNC held a poll online, 3,200 respondents about who people wanted to hear from at a debate that I wasn't even participating in. The answer was 45% Butch Ware, 33% Javier Becerra, 17% Tom Steyer, 6% Katie Porter. They have no support in the streets. It's AstroTurf. We are building a winning organization on the ground, but the media will never tell you, and that's why they sued to get me off the ballot, because they don't want me on that debate stage, because they know that people will respond to this message. They know that Greens have been getting elected in this state at almost an 80% clip. We can beat them now, which means it's time to stand up and beat them now. The power is in your hands. Malcolm said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth. It will turn the innocent into the guilty and the guilty into innocent, and that's power. But what I'm telling you is that they will turn winners into losers and losers into winners. Those are paper tigers, Becerra and Steyer. So even if you have to write my name on the ballot, Butch Ware is going to beat the brakes off of them. And how do we know? Because 60% of Muslim Californians already voted for me in the presidential election in 24. And there are 1 million Muslims in the state of California. And it is going to take 1.2 million votes to finish in the top 2 in this primary. Do you see the path? We are not losing, we are not chasing, we are winning, and they are chasing us. Kwame Ture took Malcolm's insights about organizing and crystallized them into a single teaching. I see the card, so I'm gonna wrap up. Okay. Kwame Ture made a distinction between mobilization and organization, and he argued that revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems. We've seen mass mobilization against police brutality in the Floyd uprisings, mass mobilization for Palestinian liberation, mass mobilization for ICE abolition. And for the record, I'm not just about abolishing ICE, I'm about abolishing the police too. But that mass mobilization has not been translated into effective organization against the system. To do that, you have to contest for power. And that means that you don't just run candidates just to run them or to shift the Overton window. With all due respect to people who are trying to change the conversation, nigga, fuck that, I'm trying to win the race. So Malcolm said we're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. Kwame Ture said that revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems. But what I say is that it is the role of revolutionary leadership to help guide the masses from mobilization around issues to organization against the systems so that we can contest the power and bring it back to the people. Because it's all power to the people, because all power is in the people.